So I'm so excited to share with all of my Clientspiration readers and friends some really great new features that my favorite company in the world, Remind, has coming out. And we're so lucky enough to have the one and only incredible Brett here with us today. So Brett, thank you for taking the time out to talk with us today. And I'm really just excited to hear. I've been corresponding with, I think, like every person on your team. And you guys have something new and exciting coming out like every single day. So I said, let's just hop on a hangout and tell everybody all the fun things that you guys have going on, especially for back to school, because teachers are going to be excited about this.
Yeah, definitely. We have a ton of interesting stuff that we're going to be building from a product feature perspective that we're going to be talking about next week. But in the interim, we launched a bunch of stuff. I don't know if I could share my screen on this, but I'll just talk through it a bit. We spent a lot of time working with teachers over the last few months, answering their questions and helping them prep for back to school season. And one of the biggest complaints they had was that it was difficult to get students and parents to sign up. They really wanted to use the service, but they didn't have a good way. And so if you go to remind.com and if you look in the bottom of the site, we have different resources for teachers that they can use. We have a back to school guide that we built that talks about different ways that you can engage students and parents, how you can use Remind, how you should explain Remind, how to generally use mobile in the classroom. And so it's just really simple ways of explaining that. And we actually have an entire page built for that. So if you go to just remind.com/teacher-resources, and that's a link on the bottom of our site.
And I'll link to that too in the post so people can easily access it.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we have a bunch of PDFs. We have, I think it's like 6 or 7 PDFs that talk about back to school guides, letters to administrators, 10 ways to use Remind, letters to parents, fact sheets, and actually for anyone who runs or is involved in ed camps, we have toolkits. And then we also have our teacher advisory board. So this is something that actually pretty much started with you, Erin, little do you know. When we started the company, the way it started was I would Skype or Google Hangout like this with Erin for hours a day. I think this was probably 2.5 or 3 years ago at this point.
It was 2011, yeah.
Yeah, 3 years ago. I'm an old, you can see the gray hairs coming in. I'm an old man now. And the reason that it was really important is, so first I should say I'm not a teacher. I've never been a teacher, and I don't claim to be, nor does anyone in our company unless they have been. And we have, I think, 5 former teachers on staff. And the reason I started this company is because I have a bunch of learning disabilities. I have ADD and dyslexia, and when I was a student, I wanted something like Remind, and that's why we built it. And what we found after talking to hundreds of teachers across the country was that there's this really significant problem from a safety and efficiency standpoint in the way that teachers have to communicate with students and parents. And so we hope that we can make it really, really easy. And back to my initial statement, we built this thing called TAB, T-A-B, which stands for Teacher Advisory Board, where we have about 70 teachers all across the country, K all the way to 20, Erin is one of them, who have been working with us since the dawn of Remind, which was about 3 years ago. And so they're really integral to our product development cycle. So we never say, oh, we have this great idea, let's go build it. It's always, let's go talk to a bunch of teachers and let's get their feedback and understand what their problems are. And then we'll build very simple version 1, and then we'll go right back to teachers like Erin or Kat Flibbin or Craig Nobling or Todd and get their feedback on that, and then we'll build it again. It's
and I must say, not to interrupt you, but and I work with a lot of companies, but I've never worked with a company, I work with great ones, but who really involves teachers the way that Remind does. I mean, you guys seriously are the model platform for that, and I do not say that lightly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm pretty excited. So we now have, I think I said it was right, 5 teachers on staff, which was a huge win. So we have 4 values in the company, and we base our values on what we hire, what we build products based on. Like that's like the core to who we are. And the first value that we have is teacher obsession, and that means that we need to be obsessed. I should say it again, obsessed with creating really incredible experiences for teachers. And that's anything from the product working really well and working really quick and making sure that it works, but also creating an incredible experience. And so if teachers ever have questions, we have tons of information and content on how they can get help in our FAQ section. They can chat with us live. They can call us if they need to. They can email our support team. We have a support team of 6 people. I was actually doing support this morning, and at 10 o'clock tonight, I'm on support duty as well.
So you're the founder of the company, and you're doing support. See, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, well, I think that I should lead by example, and our most important value is teacher obsession. And no matter how big we scale, we can never let that go. And today, I'm really excited. Humbly, we have over 20% of teachers in the U.S. using the product. Michigan actually being our one of our more advanced states. I think that's because I went to Michigan State, which Aaron knows. So any University of Michiganders, don't hate me for that.
Go green.
So yeah, teachers are really at the ethos of everything we're doing. But back to our initial conversation about what can teachers read about and learn about Remind for back to school. Use the teacher resources, use the PDFs, use the toolkits, and if you ever have questions, just email us at contact@remind.com, and we'll have a real person, a human being, be there to respond to you and answer any questions.
A friendly human being too. Like your entire team is so nice.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. We've hired well then.
Yes.
Yeah, and then
great. And what I want to mention too about your teacher resource page, especially because we're getting back to school and there's a tremendous amount of professional development that teachers are involved with right now, kicking off back to school. And as administrators always want to know, like, okay, you went to X summer conference, what are you bringing back to the faculty, what can you share, or what resources have you researched, and what are you excited to try in your classrooms? And so as teachers, we often have to kind of share out from our summer learning. And what I really appreciate is you guys have, I think it's like 41 slides or something, I forget the exact number, but it's a really well put together slide share that speaks to not only just what Remind is, but like the benefits of like texting students. And it's not that you're texting students because they don't have your number, you don't have their number, and it's all secure. And it's not just students, it's parents. Like I send out my spelling words and I send out pictures of the kids throughout the day in real time, and it's just wonderful. But you guys have such a great presentation that's already built that any teacher could literally say, oh, I can do a professional development, and they could just steal, or as Harry Wong says, like borrow, and just give that presentation to their faculty or to their staff, or just email it out, and it really explains everything and the why behind what you're doing, but then also how to do it. So it's great.
Totally. Yeah, and Aaron, one thing I should mention, I don't think I did before. Over the summer, we released what we're calling our universal app, and so before, I think it was at the end of last school year, teachers only interface with the website and the iPhone or the Android app. And students and parents only use text messaging or email. And we talked to all these teachers, and one thing they said is we want to have an easy way to communicate with students and parents on mobile phones. And then we talked to a bunch of students and parents, and they said, it gets a little bit overwhelming because I have 5 different teachers using Remind, sending me texts on 5 different threads. And so we built this super simple, lightweight mobile app where students and parents can download it just they would, Facebook or Google, any app. And they can sign up and start using it in a minute. And it's a very simple, streamlined view. They can get push notifications. So we launched that, and we're really excited about it. It's in the App Store. It's free right now. We're actually...
So what does that exactly mean? Like, explain that a little bit, because even as familiar as I am with Remind, like that confuses me a little bit. So is that to benefit the teacher more, or to benefit the person receiving all of the Remind messages? Like, so for example, if I am a high school student and 4 of my 7 teachers are all using Remind, plus 2 of my coaches, is that like a way for me to streamline all of the information I'm receiving, so it's better for the user end or better for the pusher end?
So I would say it's good for both, but it really benefits the student or parent, and this is why. So if I'm a student, I'm a 10th grade, let's say I'm a freshman student at ABC High School, and I'm in a math class, a science class, an English class, and I play junior varsity football. And each one of those, either coaches or teachers, uses Remind and sends me text messages. Those are 4 different text messaging threads, and it's just a little overwhelming. And so if they download the app, they can get it in one single messaging feed, and they can push notification and just see it. So it's much easier for them. And then the reason that it's good for the teachers is because they have a really simple, streamlined way to share it with students and parents, so they can click a button and share it via email, via text, and they can share a link. And so it's just easier for the teacher to share as well. So on the teacher's end, they can use whatever they want. Like, they can use the mobile apps, they can use the website. I believe that the mobile apps are better, and we're going to have some very interesting features, hint, 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 that will work very well.
Coming up next week, right?
Yeah, on the mobile apps, that's right. But students and parents really like it. They're the ones who really benefit from it.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
So as we're closing, like, you made a video, and I watched it yesterday. It just went live, and I seriously had like tears in my eyes. Like, your story is amazing. Will you just kind of allude to your story, tell what the video is, because I'll embed the video on my site too so that everybody can watch it. I'm just so impressed by everything that you do, and then watching this video, and I knew your story because I know you. We go way back, but
Yeah.
just seeing and hearing it, it's really well done. So you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. Most people, and when I say people, most people in the education community who are familiar with our product, they don't know why it started. And as we continue to scale and grow and hire people and evolve the product, one of the things we realize is that it's important for people to understand why we exist. Like, where is the core? Where did this come from? And the whole reason this started is because, like I said before, I have a bunch of learning disabilities. School is always incredibly hard for me. In 5th grade, I got taken out by a school psychologist, and they diagnosed me. Said you have ADD and dyslexia.
Brett, you froze for 2 seconds, and I'm really worried that that might be on the broadcast. Can you back up just about 10 seconds? Would that be okay?
Sure.
Most people don't know why the app was created.
Yeah. So most people don't know why Remind was created, and I think that it's really important that they understand the core to why we as a company exist. Like, why is it that we care so much about teachers? Why do we care about making this impact in education? And why do we care so much about relationships and connecting teachers and students and parents? And the reason is because I have all these learning disabilities, and in 5th grade, I was pulled out of class and I was diagnosed with ADD and dyslexia. And school was always incredibly hard for me, and I felt stupid because I would get extra time on exams, I would get extra time on quizzes, I would be taken out of class while all my friends were in their own class, and it didn't make me feel very smart. And on top of that, school was always really hard for me. I would try 3 times as hard as my friends, but I would get C's and D's, and they would all get A's and B's, and I didn't understand why. And so for a long time, I didn't feel smart, and I had really low confidence, to be honest. And then I met Miss Whitefield, and Miss Whitefield, who's on the video, was my high school, what I call IEP manager. And so while other kids had a study hall with, I don't know, probably 30 or 40 kids and one teacher, I had one-on-one time with Miss Whitefield. And like I said in the video, it's not so much that she taught me how to add or what Pythagorean theorem is or how to write a paper. She was really patient with me. She taught me critical thinking skills. She cared about me. And if it wasn't for teachers like Miss Whitefield, I don't think I would be in the position I am today. And so if we think back to why the company exists, like why does formerly Remind 101 have it? We used to be Remind 101, we're now Remind. Why does it exist? It exists because I believe that if we can help the Miss Whitefields of the world, the Aaron Kleins of the world, and the millions of other teachers around the world, if we can help them engage with their students more efficiently. And then the second part that I alluded to that I didn't talk about is my parents. Like, my parents were really involved in my education. My mom had such a good relationship with Miss Whitefield. She knew every week what was going on, and that mattered. And so if we could figure out a way to make teachers' lives more efficient, and if we could figure out a way to engage parents in their kids' education 2 or 3 times a week versus a typical once a year, and make sure that it's not a helicopter parent, and we all know what that is. We can help with that. If we can help with those 2 things, we think it can have a really meaningful impact on education. And so that's why we believe that relationships are actually the key to helping propel the education system forward. Everyone talks about Common Core and curriculum and content, and all those things are important. And I'm not going to talk about those because honestly, that's not my expertise. But what we believe is fundamentally, it's almost like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If people don't have fundamental relationships, how can they even think about Common Core? So that's why the company started, and that is really what the core of our company is. And so the reason we made the video is because we wanted the world to know, and I also wanted to thank Ms. Whitefield. And it's a hope of mine that when teachers see that, unfortunately, I think teachers' professions are seen not as great as like a doctor or a lawyer for some reason, and I think that's totally wrong. And I hope that when teachers look at that video, they know that they impacted a kid, and maybe they didn't make a fancy video that talks about that, but those teachers really matter. And it's kind of like a thank you to them. So I know that was a long answer, but that's the core.
Perfect answer. It's an honest answer. No, and I couldn't agree more. That's the foundation of it. And I love that you just paralleled it to like Maslow's hierarchy, because it's true. And I feel like a lot of the Twitter conversations that I'm in, and a lot of the presentations that I'm involved with, and a lot of the really good discussions, whether it's at EdCamp or in Boston at the Blended Learning Conference or wherever, those really good, rich conversations. When we get to the root of what makes students successful, it's how are you personalizing learning? But how do you personalize learning? You've got to know your kids, and it really starts with the relationships, all of it. That's at the heart of it. And when I think back, when anybody who's watching this thinks back to their most memorable experience or experiences from their K-20 education or whatever it may have you, it's not going to be lesson 6 of math.
Yeah.
It's going to be the person that made that impact on them. So I love your story. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
Yep. So we are going to do another chat next week, and we're going to roll out all of the exciting new features because I think people are going to be really wowed by them.
Yeah, I hope so.
I certainly am.
It's like
super hard to keep my mouth shut, but I promise. Will you do me a big favor? Will you kind of show your office space really quick?
Oh, sure.
Because it's amazing.
We can walk around real quick. So this is Mind. Everything was built with the theme of teachers in mind. So, and actually by some teachers, and some engineers are playing with some Nerf guns right now. I apologize. So
That's awesome.
This is Remind. We actually installed swings in the office, and you can see some of our team is.
So this is your office.
This is our office. So we have 30 employees.
Cool. And you're in San Francisco.
We're in San Francisco, and we have our values here on our wall. And it's not really writing. It's not just writing on a wall. It's important that when we walk in the door every day, everyone in the company is thinking about why we exist and what's really important to us. And the first value on that wall is teacher obsession. So as you can see, we have a bit of a fun culture. I think that there's a Nerf gun battle going on. It isn't always like this.
All right, so you have to let us see.
Yeah, so it's happening right now.
And this is on the clock work hours, yeah?
This is on the clock work hours. Everyone's working hard, but it's good to break every now and then.
That's awesome.
And then over here, here's Nick. We're actually live streaming. We're doing a live stream recording.
There's my Michigan friends.
Hey!
This
is Michigan friend, and that's Lindsay, who's a designer. There's Clara.
Hi, how are you guys?
And this is the rest of Remind. So we have a basketball rim and a foosball. It's our support team and our marketing team. And that's Remind. And that's Nick Provenzano. He's one of our teachers on our teacher advisory board. We have to get them in the office space hanging out with us. We take the opportunity because, you guys are everything we're building the product for.
That's so cool. What a fun place to work.
Yeah, it's great. We're very fortunate, but we don't forget why we're here, and that is to make teachers' lives easier. And I swear by that, and I mean that.
Very cool, Brett. Thank you so much. I know you're incredibly busy. Are you kidding me? And the fact that you just took however many minutes to talk to us, it means the world to me.
It's okay. And my personal email is brett@remind.com. So if any teachers have questions, or if they have concerns, or if they just want to give feedback, please email me or just tweet us at RemindHQ is our Twitter handle.
And they're really quick about getting back. I sent out like a DM to Clara yesterday on the Remind, and she was like 20 seconds later. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Yes. You guys are the best. I love you guys. So thank you for all that you do. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Nice talking to you.
Yep.
We'll talk to you next week. See ya.
Yes. Next week.
Bye.